Good morning, fellow Hoops fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV. As always, brought to you by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. Now it's Wednesday morning. It's just me and Parky on deck, but you know what? That's all we need. Parky, good morning.
Morning, Nick. There's a lot to talk about today too. The show's going to go for about an hour today. Is that right?
Yes, listen, I could talk hoops with you, Parky, for all day, mate, all day. But I believe the powers that be, our producers, might cut us off after a certain time. So to avoid that, Parky, let's get stuck straight into it. Before we get into the topics that we had planned to talk about, there is some kind of breaking news, I guess, in a sense. It was announced a couple of hours ago by the Minnesota Timberwolves that they're going to be without Karl-Anthony Towns for about 4 to 6 weeks. He exited that game yesterday with a right calf strain. They didn't think it was that serious, but apparently now it is a little bit more serious than thought. He's going to be absent from the team for 4 to 6 weeks. Parky, how does that affect them in the short term?
Oh, it affects him a lot. He's not going to come back until, at least sometime in January. So, they're just under 500 now, I think, with that loss to the Wizards yesterday. So, yeah, it would have been nice to get that win, be around that 500 mark and then move forward. But, this is going to set him back a bit. And it's always a worry when someone goes down, and you saw it yesterday, for those that did see it yesterday, the way he sort of looked back and, as if someone had kicked him in the calf and he sort of looked back and it was a bit worrying. But initially they said it wasn't as bad as it was. And then we wake up this morning and the Woj has got his, what do they call it? A post telling us that he's going to be out for maybe up to 6 weeks, which is really going to affect the Timberwolves. Yeah,
it's going to affect them a lot because Towns, for me anyway, is their best player. If not their best, at least their most consistent player this season. He's probably their best outside shooter as well. And then you look at, a guy like Rudy Gobert, who won't provide you what Towns does on the offensive side of things anyway. We've spoken briefly about D'Angelo Russell and all these other guys sort of struggling to find their fit. I think probably Anthony Edwards is going to have to be the man to step up and sort of carry this team while Towns is out.
No, exactly. And that's where I was going to go with it as well. And I think we are going to talk later on about some All-Stars, some maybe some first-time All-Stars, seeing we're sort of halfway to the All-Star break. And and this could help Anthony Edwards sort of get in that All-Star game if he can step up with those extra shots, maybe extra minutes, extra responsibility, because they're going to need it with Cat out. And as you say, he's probably the best shooter on the team, the best outside shooter. And if you have any doubt with that, just ask him.
Yeah,
he'll tell you that. But in saying that, I think he probably is their best shooter. So no, this is a huge loss for the Timberwolves.
Yeah, that's a good shout there, Parky, regarding Anthony Edwards. We will get into that in just a few minutes. First, I want to move on and I want to have a quick chat about Bronx legend Kemba Walker. He is back in the NBA, although he wasn't absent for very long. He was waived by the Detroit Pistons. I think it was mid-October, I believe. He was traded to Detroit on draft night. It was part of that trade to sort of create room to bring on Jalen Brunson for the New York Knicks. But now, according to Shams Charania of The Athletic, apparently the Dallas Mavericks are very close to signing Kemba Walker as a backup, and it's sort of to bolster their depth, especially at the guard position. They're going to have to waive Facundo Campazzo to make room for Kemba Walker. They need depth right now, don't they, Parky? Because they've fallen below 500. We've kind of touched on this throughout the season as well. They do seem to be a one-man band over there because if Luka doesn't perform, they really don't perform either. So, look, Walker, his best days are behind him. We know that, right? But he can add some scoring punch, off the bench for the Mavs, can't he?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, he can definitely offer that, and also assists as well. I mean, he's in his days, he could average at least 6-7 assists, per game in his time, and I think they basically need some help for Luka. You're right, especially on back-to-backs. They've struggled, and as you say, they started off fairly well, the Mavs, and I think they've realised that the load that Luka has to carry, they need some help there. But there's a lot of interesting storylines when it comes to this, because the Mavs had a crack at him in 2019 when he was up for free agency, and he opted to go with the Celtics, if you remember, and he played there. And look, with the Celtics, he was pretty good. He averaged between 20 and 25 points per game in those 2 seasons, averaging around 5 or 6 assists. But more recently, as you say, he was with your Knicks, and yeah, I think in 37 games last year, he averaged somewhere around 12 points a game and 3 or 4 assists. So, and that's sort of the production I think that the Mavs would be happy with. And the other funny storyline about this, or the irony, is that the Knicks, to steal Jalen Brunson from the Mavs, they traded Kemba to have some more cap room so that they could then sign Brunson. So now that Brunson's left the Mavs, now the Mavs are short of a playmaker. So now the Mavs are going to sign Kemba Walker. So I found that a bit ironic that that's the way the Mavs are heading.
Yeah, we essentially traded Kemba Walker to get Jalen Brunson. I'm down with that. You mentioned that, his stat line from last season. And I think people are quick to forget also, Parky, that on Christmas Day last year, he did drop a 44-point triple-double at Madison Square Garden, which, look, again, he's not that player of old. He's not that all-star Kemba Walker that he was with the Charlotte Hornets. We know that. But I just feel like, he's still got a little bit of basketball left in him. As a backup to Doncic, I don't mind this move. It's not an earth-shattering move for the Mavs, but again, it does add a little bit of depth to the roster.
I think it's a great move. I can't believe he's floating around. I think he's working out in Florida, or he has been working out in Florida apparently, just to keep in check, because I think he knew he was going to get picked up. He's only 32. That's not that old in current terms in the NBA. He's a full-time All-Star. As you say, he's not going to return to that All-Star form, and that's not what the Mavs want. They just want a little bit of help for their All-Star, which is Luka, who's leading the league in scoring. So, yeah, they just need that little bit of help. I think as a 32-year-old full-time All-Star, I think this is perfect. He's in shape. He only played last season. It's not like he's been out of the game for a while. And look, I don't want to keep bringing up the Carmelo Anthony thing, but this is somewhere where I think at the age of 32, not 38, 39, I think this is a really good pickup. He does have some injury concerns. He's got some bad knees, but he's not going to be expected to carry the team and play mega minutes. So I think this is a great pickup. Yeah,
me too. Look, as a sort of catch and shoot option as well, I think he's going to thrive playing alongside Luka. And for what it's worth, he shot 41% last season on catch and shoot threes. So again, that should probably be right about there, playing alongside, if not better, playing alongside a guy like Luka. All right, Parky, this is the topic that I've been really sort of looking forward to chatting to you about, because we're going to talk about potential first-time All-Star players this season. Like you said, we're at that sort of, halfway point between the start of the season and All-Star weekend. So I think it's a good time to sort of, we've got enough of a sample size now to sort of discuss which players we think might be first-time All-Stars. Now, last season, there were 7 All-Star guys that made 7 players that made their All-Star debut. Ja Morant, LaMelo Ball, Darius Garland, Andrew Wiggins, DeJounte Murray, Fred VanVleet, and Jarrett Allen. Parky, there's a few contenders this year. We've got, potentially De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, SGA, Evan Mobley. For you, who's going to be the standout first-time All-Star this season?
Well, I'm going to go with SGA.
I love it.
The hyphen. I think he's a lock. You can call it the Shea Show, the hyphen, SGA, whatever you want to call him. He's garnering and gathering nicknames because he's just playing out of his skin. He's third in the league in scoring. That should get you in the All-Star game just on that. I mean, there's a stat that I think there's been 62 players leading into the All-Star break that have averaged 30 or more, and every single one of them have played. Well, if they haven't played, the only reason they haven't played, I think there was a couple that were injured. But basically, you score 30 plus points a game, you get in. And when you look at down the list of the top sort of 14 players, and we'll get to that later, because you'll be interested to know who number 14 is on that list. But when you look, I look at the top sort of 15, 16 players, leading scorers in the NBA, and look, just about all of those guys are going to be all-stars. So look, I think there'll be a few here, but yeah, SGA, when you look at his, he's far more efficient than he was previous years, and that's why he's odds-on favourite to win Most Improved. And the guy averaged 24.5 points per game last season. So, I mean, the fact that he's he's probably going to get the most improved player award the way he's playing. He's just so efficient offensively. He's a combo guard. He can have the ball in his hands. He also likes playing that, he's naturally a two guard, and that's where Josh Giddey, his running mate, those two provide a pretty good combo there. But Shea's just been amazing. Even yesterday's game, that they only just lost, they wouldn't have even been in it if it wasn't for SGA. And look, he had a poor game and he still scored 30 odd or whatever it was. But no, he's definitely for me, just the way he's shown the way his offense has been far more efficient this year, and the points he's averaging. The only thing against him, I guess, is the team record. The team is doing better, and I think they're trying to win. But his record would be the only question there. But I think he's a lock.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he is an absolute certainty to make the All-Star team this year. And for me, I don't think the record for an All-Star game matters as much, because at the end of the day, it is an exhibition sort of, geared towards the fans, and they want to have the best players playing. And look, honestly, if he keeps this form up, I think, the fans will vote him on. So then the record definitely won't matter in that regard. But Parky, I agree with you. Whether he gets voted on by the fans or whether the coaches and, the rest of the guys that vote for these things bring him on, I think he's definitely going to be there. I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction. It's a guy that I don't think he's a lock, and I'll tell you why in a second, Parky, but I'm going to go with De'Aaron Fox, right? Because I think, from your beloved Sacramento Kings, of course, but he's playing well enough, so well, that he deserves to be in the All-Star game for me anyway. He's averaging 25.1 points, 53% shooting from the field, 38.5% shooting from long range, 6.1 assists, 4.9 rebounds. For me personally, in the games that I've watched Sacramento play this year, it's his leadership that I've really been in sort of awe of. He seems to sort of have taken that up to another level now and just sort of really claimed that team as his own. I don't know how much influence, a guy like Matthew Dellavedova has had on that and come over and sort of taken him under his wing a little bit. But, you can really see that De'Aaron Fox has claimed that team. This is his team. They're only going to go as far as, he's going to take them, kind of thing. The concern that I have with, sort of saying that he's going to be a first-time All-Star this year, as a lock, is who does he leave off the team, Parky? Because if you look at the guards ahead of him, the ones that are locks for me are Doncic, Ja Morant, Devin Booker, SGA. I maybe might put Damian Lillard in there as well. So we're already up to 5, guards there. Am I sort of overthinking this, Parky, or is that a fair concern?
No, I see where you're going. I see where you're going with that. But the other argument, the counter argument to that is the fact that, as I spoke about with SGA, and that is that the Kings are playing great and their record is great and the team has improved. And I think, he's definitely the All-Star candidate out of that team. So, and as I mentioned earlier, I teased a bit earlier, is that I think he's 14th in the league in scoring. And when you look at all those names as you run down them all, and you've already mentioned a lot of those guards that are already in that top 14 in the scorers. I think he definitely belongs. He belongs in there. I think Paul George is 15th on that list, and I think he's an All-Star as well. But look, I'm happy I think he's right in that sweet spot. He's 24 years of age. That's exactly the same age as SGA, actually. So I think those guys, with the way they're playing and the way their teams are a bit better, and even more so with Fox, I think he can sneak in. I think we could get probably about 4 or 5. I mean, you did list at the start of this segment that there were 7 new guys last year. I think there was only going to be 4, but 3 came in as an injury replacement. So, I think that was a bit of a funny year, or not a funny year, but I don't think, put it this way, I don't think this year there's going to be 7 first-time All-Stars. I think we could probably get 4 or 5 out of them, and I think Fox is definitely up there. SGA's a lock. I think Fox is up there, and as you mentioned, Halliburton, Markkanen, both those guys have improved their team's records. And when I say that, their teams have performed better than expected. Yeah. So when you look at the Pacers or you look at the Jazz, those records, they've done much better than expected, and that's why Halliburton and Markkanen, for me, are chances in there as well. And when you look at, say, some other chances, Maxey is a chance, depending on how it sort of turns out, when he comes back from injury, it depends how the way he plays, because I really think they've nearly got a big three going there in Philly. And of course, Embiid would be a lock as an all-star. And I think with Harden injured and maybe not playing as well, Maxey could sneak in there. So, so there's a few spots open for these first-time all-stars, but I think Fox deserves one.
Parky, one quick thing on this one before we move on and take a look at today's odds. We mentioned this, or you and I spoke about this via text yesterday, and we were talking about rookies that have been all-stars, and you mentioned that Banchero, you like Banchero's perhaps sort of being that rookie this year that could be a first-time all-star. You still sort of riding that one, or?
Yeah, look, I do. I think he's an outside chance. I think he's just about to he's coming back from injury. But the same thing happened with him. The Orlando Magic have done better than expected. And I think a lot of that's because he's done better than expected. He's odds on $1.20, $1.15 or whatever it is for rookie of the year. So he's definitely the best rookie out there. And it's a situation where I think he's on the fringe here. Depends how he plays, obviously, in the next 20, 25 games leading up to the All-Star break. But I think he could sneak in. And he might sneak in perhaps, as an injury replacement, something like that. But yeah, I think he's definitely got a case.
Well, for what it's worth, the last rookie that made the All-Star game was Blake Griffin in 2010, 2011. So it's been a while between drinks. So, look, I'd like to see Banchero in there. I think he's a fun player. So we'll have to see how that one goes. All right, Parky, let's take a look at some of today's games. We've only got 3 games on the NBA schedule today. So we're going to take a look at all 3 of these. We're going to start off with who else but the New York Knicks and the Detroit Pistons. The Knicks are heading into this one here. Favorites $1.50. The Detroit Pistons $2.61. The line's at 4.5. Totals at 226. Live on NBA League Pass. Both teams on 2-game losing streaks. Manuel quickly questionable for this game. For the Pistons, Jaden Ivey, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Isaiah Stewart all questionable. Still no Cade Cunningham. Pistons under 500 at home, and the Knicks are under 500 on the road, Parky. What do we make of this game?
Yes, well, whenever it comes to Knicks games and making picks on this show, I always wait and see what we're all going to do, because as we know what happened Monday with our picks, we both went for the Grizzlies to cover that small spread against the Knicks, and they only just covered. They won by 4 points. So I'm going to hold my pick to see where you're going to lean on this one, because I do like the Knicks in this one. I think the Knicks have beaten the Pistons the last 10 times they've played. So, I mean, not that that's a great stat, but I think that's sort of leaning in that direction. So I think they can cover this small spread of 4.5. And I also like the under in this game. In the last 8 road games for the Knicks, 7 of those have gone under the total. So I actually like the total, even though the money's been coming for the over. I think, the under 226 for me is a pick on this match, and I'm waiting to see what you think about your Knicks.
Nick is about to give Nick's kiss of death to the Knicks, because I am picking the Knicks to win this game, to cover the spread, and I'm taking the under as well, Parky. We're going 3 for 3, both of us on that one there.
Okay, well, I'm going to take it as well, because, look, we combined on Monday with that as well. And by the way, Monday, you went 2-2, I went 3-1. So you're right on that 50%, 500 mark, whatever you want to call it, at 41. I'm at 28-20. So yeah, we want to keep that going. So yeah, the Knicks, this Knick game with 2 picks here is going to be a big fun for us today.
Yeah, watch the Knicks end up losing this by double digits.
Surely not against the Pistons. Surely not.
That's what I said, Parky. But listen, I don't even want to get into the pain they've caused me. Let's move on to the next game we're going to take a look at here. We've got the Golden State Warriors, Dallas Mavericks. Warriors have found a little bit of form again. So they're starting to look like the Warriors that we're more accustomed to seeing. They're $1.83 favorites here. Dallas Mavericks, $2.03. The line's at 1.5. Total 227.5. This one's live on ESPN. Like I said, the Warriors are on a 3-game winning streak. They're above 500 again. The Mavs are slumping. They've lost 4 straight. They've been great at home, Parky. They're 8-3 at home. The Warriors are actually just 2-9 on the road. So what do we make of this one?
Yeah, well, what you just mentioned at the end there is the reason why I think this spread isn't as big as it probably should be, because I really like the Warriors in this matchup. They've only got to cover the 1.5 points, and I think they can do that easy. And you're right, these two teams are just trending in different directions. In fact, the Mavs have lost 5 of their last 6, and the Warriors have actually won 5 of their last 6. So, yeah, to me, everything points to the Golden State Warriors in this one. And another stat that I can throw at you as well is that the Mavs have failed to cover the spread in their last 15 games. They've failed to cover it out of 14 out of the last 15. So, yeah, the Mavs are definitely look. They're going to have an uptick. They're going to get going, but I just don't think it's going to be today. I think the Warriors are going to cover that spread quite easily.
You staying away from the total?
Well, I'm leaning towards the over there. 9 of the last 11 Mavs home games have gone over. So and the Warriors, as we know, can get going and score. So I would be leaning towards the over in this one, but I'm not going to make it an official pick. I really like the Warriors, so I'm going to sort of double up on the Warriors in this one rather than take the under.
Yeah, I'm going Warriors to cover the spread. Yeah, like you, I'm wary of that total for the same reasons you just mentioned, Parky. It's both teams. I mean, especially the Warriors can light it up, but I'm not confident in. I'm probably lean towards the over as well, but I'm not confident enough to make a pick, so I'm going to stay away from that one as well.
Yeah, no, I'm a bit the same. This could end up at a 140, 120, or 130 sort of game, but the Mavs have recently sort of been in lower scoring games, but yeah, lean towards the over there. But yeah, we'll leave that one alone and save our money.
All right, last game we're going to take a look at. We've got the LA Clippers and the Portland Trail Blazers. Blazers $1.61, Clippers $2.40. Excuse me. Lines at -3.5. Total is at 211.5. This one's live on ESPN now. Blazers have fallen off after that hot early start. They're currently 7th in the West. Clippers have jumped up to 5th. They're 5-4 on the road. Blazers 4-4 at home. Now, as of late last night, Parky, from what I'd seen, there was no Lillard, no GP2, and no Keon Johnson for Portland in this game. Paul George is set to miss both the Clippers' upcoming road games, including this one here. And as of late last night, Kawhi Leonard's status was undetermined for this game. How's that affected the money here?
Yeah, well, it hasn't moved the line too much. The Blazers... Yeah, it's moved it by about 0.5 point. So, yeah, yesterday you could get the Blazers -3, but they're now sort of 3.5. But the real movement in this game, betting-wise, has been the total. The total was at 215. It's now gone all the way down to 211.5. So the money has been coming for the under, which has probably knocked it down a bit too much for me. So I'm actually going to stay away from that. And look, I do like the Clippers getting the 3.5 points. I know there's no PG and probably no Kawhi, but I think the Trailblazers are undermanned, and I just think that the Clippers have. I think the Clippers have just a little bit more depth. And a stat here that the Trailblazers they've lost 9 of their last 12 games as home favourites. So they're a slight home favourite in this one. They're playing against a quality team. I know I'm missing a lot of guys, but no, I like the Clippers getting 3.5 points in this one.
Me too. I'm surprised that the Blazers are favourites heading into this one here, especially with those. Like I said, I don't know if things have changed since I saw that late last night, but there was no Lillard, no GP2, no Keon Johnson. I think the Clippers have a much deeper team than Portland, even without a Paul George and Kawhi, who these days I would just assume Kawhi is not playing. So but even without those guys, I do like the Clippers in this one here to cover the spread. That I'm inclined to actually go over, but I'm not going to make that an official pick either. I just think 211 is a little bit low for me, Parky, but I'm not going to make that an official pick.
Yeah, no, the Clippers, you've got to be wary. We've been burnt before with the Clippers being a low-scoring team.
Yeah, you've mentioned that they're generally an under team, so
they are. Well, they were the lowest. I think they're still the lowest scoring team, in the league. But they play some defense as well. But they've often. Yeah, but the bookies are getting good at sort of adjusting. So, I mean, you don't see many totals now around that 211, 210 sort of mark.
Yeah.
And but there's a reason for that. And as I said, it was 215. People have been, a lot of punters have been throwing a lot of money at that under, and that's why it's gone down a fair bit. So, yeah, no, it's interesting. And look, the Clippers have covered the line 8 of the last 10 versus the Trailblazers. So for me, yeah, the bet in this one is definitely the Clippers getting that. What are they getting? 3.5 points.
Yeah. All right, Parky, we're going to take a quick look at the championship odds as well, and then we're going to get out of here and look at that. The Boston Celtics favorites at $5.10, Milwaukee Bucks $6.25, Clippers $7, Warriors $7.50, Suns $9.25, Brooklyn Nets $15, Denver Nuggets $17, Mavericks $19. I don't think that's any value in that one there for me personally. Memphis Grizzlies $19, Philadelphia 76ers $19, Cavaliers $21, Miami Heat $23, and on down the line we go there. Parky, Boston Celtics favorites. Clippers have dropped off a little bit, but the Bucks are starting to firm up a little bit in the money there too, aren't they?
Yes, no, and rightly so. I think. I think. I think they should be about there. And look, there's a bit of faith in the Clippers coming good, and also the Warriors. When you think of, at the moment those teams aren't traveling, that great. But I think they've got a lot of, the punters have got a lot of faith in them. But it was interesting to see the Lakers aren't even in page 2 anymore. Sorry, I mentioned the Lakers. I know we've got to. We nearly got through a full show without mentioning the Lakers, so I apologize for that. But no, that. The other thing that I think surprised me on that list too is how the Brooklyn Nets are still $15. And I mean, I know KD's playing out of his mind, and Ben Simmons is showing a little bit, and Kyrie's back, but I don't think the Nets have much of a chance at all. I can't believe there's probably on that first page of betting there at $15. I think there's far better teams that to bet on than those guys. But I guess there's faith there that they could get things going and pick things up.
Yeah, I agree with you, Parky. I don't think they're a chance of winning either, but it's a long NBA season and the trade deadline is coming up, so you never know what could happen. All right, that's going to do it from us today, Parky. We're going to catch you again on Friday morning as always.
No, look forward to it, and we'll see how our picks went today. I think we agreed on just about every pick. I think we made 4 good picks there, so I'd say to the punters out there, get on.
Great minds think alike, Parky.
Gamble responsibly, of course, with our buddies at TopSport, but I think it's a good card today.
All right, guys, that's been another episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. We'll see you guys Friday morning.